I posted this comment to Reddit about 6 months ago, where I used to get a lot of reassurance from my OCD. After years of suffering from OCD, I can finally say that I'm free. I don't have OCD anymore, and I'm sure that I'll never go back. I've been posting in this community for several years, under several accounts. I've deleted all of those accounts because of the shame that I felt for asking the questions that I did, for asking for reassurance without doing it directly, even though I knew it was against the rules, and for spending so much of my time looking for answers and ways to feel better in what seemed like an endless cycle of torment. I would spend several hours every day ruminating and feeling consumed by my OCD thoughts. I had it for so long that the theme shifted several times, but all of them felt 100% real in the moment. Nothing worked for me. I tried ERP, SSRIs at various dosages, and ICBT, but the thoughts kept coming back and the rumination never got better. No psychologist I ever spoke to was able to get me fully better. They tried to, and I'm still grateful for the ones that went above and beyond, but they couldn't help me. I wanted to share this with all of you so that you know that OCD doesn't have to be forever. You really can end it for good. I haven't suffered from an OCD cycle for almost a year now, and the best part is, nothing can trigger me anymore. Intrusive thoughts, disturbing images, and terrible feelings still come into my head, but I know what to do now, so none of them bother me anymore. I understand what my brain was doing each time those thoughts would come up, so I know how to stop the cycle. The old fears I used to have still come up, but they don't take root. I feel untouchable, untriggerable, unfazed by everything that would have crippled me a few years ago. I feel freer than I have in my whole life, and it was because of the things I did that were different. I was speaking to someone recently that I helped using the method I talk about in a different video, and they asked me how I was so certain that I would never go back to the OCD patterns I was doing in the past. I used this analogy to explain why I was so sure. Before, when I had OCD, it felt like I was trying to walk to a store that had something I really needed, but I wasn't sure where the store was. Each time I tried to get to the store, I would get lost along the way and have to turn back to go home. No matter what I did, no matter how quickly I ran or what direction I took, I would get lost trying to find the store every single time. I needed to get to the store, so I couldn't give up, but I felt helpless because I didn't know how to get there, so I would try harder each time and get more and more tired and frustrated on each trip. The trips would get longer, and I would try them more frequently without ever getting there. Eventually, I figured out that the store was behind my house the entire time. I learned how to get to the store easily now, so I would never choose to go back and try to find a new way to get there again. In this analogy, the store is relief from my OCD obsessions and fears. That's why I needed to get there and I couldn't give up. The trips to the store were my compulsions, which I kept doing to try to get relief from OCD, trying to get to the store. And finally figuring out the way to get to the store was the method I used to recover. I think of OCD in the same way. I know now what works. I know that my brain is predisposed to thinking in this OCD pattern, and I know how bad it can be when I use that pattern, so I'm definitely not going to do that pattern ever again. I fully recovered from OCD about a year and 2 or 3 months ago, about the spring of 2024, and I posted all of that to Reddit about 6 months ago. Since recovering, I haven't relapsed a single time. The method I used to get better is called the cognitive disengagement method. I talk about the entire method for free in a different video that I made. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. In this method, you're basically isolating the OCD thoughts in your brain so that you can stop thinking about them. You're making anything related to your OCD theme a no-go zone for your brain. How the cognitive disengagement method is different from other talk therapies like ERP or ACT is that in this method, you're not accepting or getting comfortable with your OCD thoughts and fears. The whole point of why you keep thinking about your OCD thoughts is because they're really important and that they could really seriously impact your life. What you do instead with CDM isn't acceptance. You're not trying to lie to yourself or pretending that you're okay with your OCD fears. You just can't do that. Instead, you're acknowledging that thinking about these thoughts hasn't been making them go away. It hasn't been making you feel better long term. I mean, realistically, how many times has your OCD topic come up? Probably too many times to count. And did any of those times thinking about it lead you to stop having more thoughts about that topic again in the future? No. No, it didn't. This method is designed for people who have this same kind of thinking pattern. If you have OCD, you probably have this pattern for other things in your life too. The only difference is it's on a much lower scale, and the other things in your life aren't causing you severe distress. So, over time, when you're doing this method and you start to feel better like I did, you'll get to the point where you're aware of possible new OCD topics before they get a chance to develop into full-blown OCD, where it's consuming your life and it's part of your day-to-day routine. Realizing that your brain has this pattern makes it a lot easier to spot OCD in the future, so that after you recover from OCD, you'll know what things you shouldn't be touching. You'll know what patterns you shouldn't be doing. It's actually really funny to me because no matter how much I know about OCD, how much I learned about it, my experience with it and recovering, despite all of that, I'll still go back to this pattern, starting to go down the obsessive thinking cycle, even now. No matter how much I know about it, it doesn't seem to matter. I'm fully convinced that my brain is just predisposed to doing this cycle, predisposed to trying to go down this route. And I have to be mindful of going down that route, because if I do, I'll end up exactly where I was before, in horrible OCD. That's why I find this funny now. No matter what happens, I'm going to have this pattern that I have to be aware of for the rest of my life. I guess in that way you can call OCD chronic, but right now it doesn't affect me anymore. I'm the one in control, so I don't have OCD. I don't have to go down those obsessive thinking paths. I have the choice to stop. I don't meet the symptomology that is used to diagnose this disorder. That's what the cognitive disengagement method has taught me. I can now choose to stop doing this cycle, even when new thoughts come in. Yeah, but how can you be so sure? What if there's an OCD thought that comes in that's too big to ignore? What if there's an OCD thought that's so important you can't stop yourself from engaging with it? That's not how this works. Engaging with these thoughts is a choice. It's like going down a road. If I'm driving in my car and I see something up ahead that's really dangerous or terrible, I'm not going to keep driving that way. I'm just going to stop and go the other way, or not go down that path. That's how I'm so sure I'm not going to relapse or do this pattern ever again, because I know what I'm doing now. So there's no way I'm ever going to choose to do this again. I've seen some people compare OCD to cancer, where you think it's gone, but really it can just come back again at any time in a different area and then metastasize and just get worse again. For me, in my experience, I couldn't disagree more. I understand what OCD is now. I understand what I was doing in my head and why I was doing it. The only possible way I could get OCD again is if I ignored everything that I learned through my recovery journey and just started to engage with my OCD thoughts again. It would be a choice, and there's no way in hell I'd make that choice, because I remember how terrible it was having OCD. After you've recovered, you just have to be mindful of this pattern. If you start to feel anxious, if you start to get afraid of certain things, if you start to notice that thoughts keep coming back of a certain topic and it's causing you distress, you need to be mindful. You need to recognize that, okay, this might be something that's going to start developing in that path again. And the earlier you catch yourself doing these patterns, the easier it'll be for you to stop. If you relate it to how I described OCD and to the ideas I laid out here, try watching the End Your OCD guide I talked about earlier. I went from having severe OCD, crippling OCD, to not having it at all anymore, and everything I did to get better is in that video for free. I can't guarantee that it'll work for you too, but if you've tried other methods and they haven't worked for you, this might help you like it helped me. I also made a course where I discussed the method in more detail and with more examples. I also answer your questions directly. You don't need the course to get better. Everything I mentioned in that free video is what I did to get better. But if you need more help or you have specific questions related to your situation, the course might be a good resource for you, as well as one-on-one coaching, where we can go through your situation specifically and work out where you might be getting stuck. You do have the power to end your OCD forever. I hope this is the last OCD video you watch.